After W.A. had their story, she gave her a small calabash with a black substance inside it. She asked her to pour the mixture into a D-spot of food, and the rest would be music history. Once upon a time, in a very far land called Edup, there were two sisters from a very poor family named Ada and U. Their parents were poor farmers. They survived from the crops they harvested from their farm. Adam was 22 years old, while U was 18 years old. Ada was a very hard-working, humble, responsible, God-fearing, and respectful, soft-hearted girl, while U, on the other hand, was an envious person, proud and arrogant, disrespectful and lazy. U, who was only 18 years old, was desperate to marry a wealthy man. All she wanted was a wealthy and handsome prince, but despite her wish to marry a wealthy prince, she was never ready to do our house cheap, cook or clean. She was very lazy because she believed somehow that she would marry a rich prince sooner or later, and therefore she did not need to learn how to cook each time her sister Ada and their mother were cooking. She would excuse herself, and most times she would go out with her friends. Her parents and her sister advised her badly to get rid of the lifestyle that she was living, that such lifestyle might land her a mystery, but she turned down all advice. One day their mother was about to go to a farm with Ada, and she instructed Du to cook the food and make sure that the food was ready before they got back from the farm. U refused and told her mother that she would never cook anything. This made her mother angry, and she asked her, "Why wouldn't you cook? Won't you cook for your husband when you get married?" With your responded mama, "I desire to marry a very rich prince. The maids would do all the work. There's no need for me to stress myself," she replied her. Mother asked her, "Do you know that there are some rich princes, no matter how wise they are, they still expect their wives to cook for them?" "I'm happy you said some rich prince. Me husband will not be that type of prince, mama. I will leave no stone unturned till I marry a rich prince," you replied. A year later, God granted with James her desires, and she met a rich and handsome prince called Ikina. Prince Ikina was a very wealthy, responsible home, and hard-working prince was from a very rich kingdom. I loved you genuinely and was ready to do anything for her. A few months after they got married, the sister Ada was happy for her. One day, as you sat with her husband having a brief conversation with him, the husband said to her, "Ever since we go to marriage, I have not seen you cooking for me. I promised to do anything to make you happy and comfortable." Wood was happy and excited, but then the prince said, "But you must do one thing for me." "What is that, my prince?" "I want you to be cooking for me and our unborn children. My mother, the great queen of kingdom, has been cooking for my father, the king of Ed Kingdom, long before she gave birth to me. Despite her status as the PID of this kingdom, she still cooks for my father. So I want you to also cook for me." "No problem, my friends. I will cook any kind of food that will suit your taste." Thereafter, you began to persuade one of her mates to secretly cook for Prince Ik whenever he went out. When he came back from hunting, you would pretend like she made his meal and serve him a delicious meal. And Prince Ika always enjoyed the meals, thinking it was made to be his wife. True, one day he came back from hunting unannounced, and very early when he came back, he told "Would you, a beautiful wife, there is this particular soup you prepared for me recently, and I loved it very much. I want you to teach me how to prepare it, just in case you're not around, you don't have the strength to cook, so I can make it myself." You became very nervous. As she didn't know what to do, she tried to come up with an excuse, but she found none. It was as if the ground should open and swallow her. She managed to say, "I will teach you, my please. Would you lead the way to the kitchen while her husband followed. When you got into the kitchen, she was confused. She didn't know where to start from. She stood there for a while not knowing what to do next and what to put on the fire first. She didn't even know how to set the fire up because she knew nothing about cooking. She began to ask the prince, who came to learn from her how to start. Please, what should I put inside this spot? Prince Icon now was confused and could not understand how she was asking him question where she has been the one cooking for him. So he asked her, how come you are asking me what to put in the pot? Have you not been the one cooking for me? Were you not the one who made the soup? I asked you to teach me how to cook. Who was silent and didn't utter a word. It was then that Prince Ika knew that something was fishy, and he asked you to tell him the truth you best into. Tia says she told him the truth. She told him she didn't know how to cook, and that the food she served him was cooked by Themish. Prince Ikena felt betrayed. He became very angry and asked the guard to throw U out of the palace. U was sent back in from husband. When she got to her father's age, her mother couldn't stop laughing and mocking. Would it was only at her sister who stood by her and kept comforting her. I asked you to learn how to cook, and you refused to listen to me. Now look where your stubbornness has landed you. The entire village will hear about this. You couldn't stop crying as her mother made fun of her. A year later, look, SM lied on as she got married to a wealthy, handsome and responsible farmer named Ducci. He had numerous fans and was ready to change their family for good. Adan lived with her husband in peace. She respected her husband and was a very responsible wife. Her husband loved her so much because she was very submissive. 7 months after Ad married, U grew very jealous and envious because of how Ada and her husband took care of their family. She began to think of how to conspire against her sister. She met her friend called O, and she fabricated lies against her sister. She made O believe her. Would you told O her plans to deal with her sister. O, who thought what she told her was true, decided to help her destroy her sister's marriage. U took her on a faraway journey inside the pig dark bush, where they met an old woman called Awa, who was a witch doctor. After a WA had their story, she gave you a small calabash with a black substance inside it. She asked her to pour the mixture into a D spot of food, and the rest would be history. They thanked the old man and they left on the day you planned to poison her sister. She dressed up and began to journey to her sister's heart. When she got there, she met her sister cooking, and as soon as her sister left the food for a while, she quickly added the poison into her sister's spot of food and sister. But just as Ada came back, I was about to remove the pots from fire. The pot fell from my hand, broke, and all the contents poured away. You was angry that her plans failed. She came back the next day to carry out her evil mission, but this time around was not on her side, as she was about to add the poison into her sister's pot of food, and that caught her.